So the Callaway Big Bertha driver, a very iconic name in golf from the 1990s, and it's still going in with a new version now for 2023. I'm going to test it in this particular video, give you some details of maybe what this driver is trying to do and the type of golf it is suited to, obviously provide you with some numbers, and then towards the end of this video I'm going to put it up against the Paradym driver and see what the differences are between those two models. So the driver for many golfers sometimes is a very, very difficult club to maybe hit. So Callaway is saying this is their easiest to hit driver they have produced, even more so maybe than the Paradym. So maybe aimed for that golfer who wants that ultimate sort of forgive. That's something that confidence to try and hit more sort of fairways. Now this driver is a little bit more draw bias. We can see this red weight in the sole of the club, obviously positioned into the heel. We know that's going to create a little bit more that draw bias sort of effect. And popping this down by the golf ball in that playing position, it's a little bit of a different shape. It's a very sort of triangular shape. Very sort of long from front to back with that triangular shape. Sits straight away a little bit toed in, face looks to me pointing more or less, so we can see straight away there this is probably going to help that golfer who typically struggles with that slice. Ooh, right, I'm testing that forgiveness straight away. That was a real toe strike. That wasn't great. Club head speed not bad there. Ball speed just dropped a little bit. Spins dropped from that high toe, but sort of, it's one of those where you think when you get that slight high toe shot, you get that one that launches a little bit high. You see 14 launch, low spin because of my strike more than anything. But more importantly, that's finding the fairway from that miss hit. And that might be for the type of golf that's looking for this, might be just moving their strike around that club face, wants that ultimate forgiveness, so trying to keep that ball in play as much as they can. That's a better strike, and that is flying high. Now I've got this just in the standard shaft that comes in this Big Bertha driver, which is the RCH 55. So obviously a very light shaft and it's a stiff flex, so maybe just not quite as firm as I'd like to sort of feel a shaft. That's a better strike. That's a good ball flight. That looks to be staying in the air for a long time. That looks pretty long. Great ball speed, 167. Just edging over that 300-yard mark on that particular shot. So Callaway saying this is really aimed at a player who is fighting that slice. So for a right-handed golfer, obviously that miss to the right is what they're trying to reduce. So with that slightly toed in effect, obviously that weight in the heel, a very low and forward CG, which is going to help to reduce spin. So typically the golfer who hits that fade, the slice, will have typically a very high spin rate. So tends to peel, climb, stall, drop, lose lots of distance. So moving that CG forward and down helps to reduce that spin. Obviously getting the face to point more left with that weight in the heel to try and get that toe working a little bit more. It's going to try and square this face up and give you that little bit more of a low spin, boring flight, but obviously a little bit straighter at the same time. And as I mentioned, you've got extra help with that through the OptiFit neck sleeve from Callaway. So you could put that in the D setting, which is draw setting, make it a little bit more upright, just to try and give you a little bit extra again if you need to. Oh, that's a good strike. Again, it just works straight up the left there. I don't really need any help to hit that ball up the left, to be honest. That is typically my miss, but tell you what, that has flown. 168 ball. Good controlled spin number. Again, some good distance there. So as I mentioned, do stay tuned because I am going to put it up against the Paradym just later on in this video. But technology wise in the Big Bertha, because the price point this is a little bit less than the Paradym. This is going to come in at £449. Paradym comes in at £529. So there is a bit of a difference of price, but only by about £70. I thought this might be a little bit, I thought this might be nearer that £399 mark as a price point. But then again, when we look at the technologies in here, we've still got the jailbreak technology. We've got forged titanium face, AI technology on that club face again. So similar sort of concept that we do see in the Paradym. That's a good strike. Yeah, so very, very high sort of ball flight there. No issues of really getting that ball up in the air. Yeah, spin rate 2.8. So it's controlling spin quite nicely there. So even with that 50-gram shaft that we've got here, which this RCH 55 is, it's in that 50-gram shaft. It's a high launch sort of characteristics of this sort of shaft. So even with that lighter, what feels a little bit softer to me, it's control and spin probably with that forward CG location. So availability wise in the driver, it comes in a 9 degree, a 10.5 and a 12.5. And as I mentioned, we've got adjustability so those lofts can move around from those three options. In left hand, we've only got the 9 and the 10.5. There's no 12.5 in left hand. Okay, so let's hit some with the Paradym. I'm going to use exactly the same shaft as what we've just done in the Big Bertha, so the RCH 55 stiff. Keep this comparison as equal as it can. Okay, so there's a batch of shots hit with the Paradym. Let's jump into some numbers, look at some differences and see the performances. So as you'll have probably seen as we've worked through that video, you see this dispersion rings with the orange being the Paradym, a little bit tighter on those batch of shots. Obviously I've got a few more up that left hand side, but I did have that weight in the Paradym positioned into the heel. So I made it a bit more draw biased, similar to the Big Bertha driver. And then looking into the numbers, so we can see club head speed pretty much identical on those two clubs. Ball speed pretty much identical, with maybe just the Big Bertha just edging it against strike's going to probably play a big part of that. So a little bit more launch with the Big Bertha just over the Paradym there, both 9-degree heads, but a touch more launch with the BB23. Spin you can see pretty much identical there as an average, and you can see the distance there, the Big Bertha just edging it by 3 yards. So interesting comparison there, we've got the Big Bertha driver coming in at £449, Paradym coming in at $529. There is a bit of a price difference performance wise for me in that little sample there, getting a little bit more distance if we're going to look at that out of the Big Bertha, a little bit more accuracy with the Paradym. There's not a lot in it between those two clubs. At the end of the day, you've got to go and get fit. I mean, you've got to try them. Obviously there's some different shaft options to go through. I'm just using that standard shaft option that we see in the Big Bertha driver, but obviously there's a lot more options to have a little go at. Post your comments down below, let me know your thoughts between the Big Bertha and the Paradym. Which one would you go for and why? Love to hear your thoughts as always, and I hopefully we'll catch up with you all very soon.